Kalalah Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai Bahashem Racha Kodash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel. Blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing this word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel Barakatah. Today's lesson, Babylon the Great, Miscalculated. And here we have an RT.com article that says, Iran War Reality Check. Why the U.S. miscalculated Tehran's political resilience. America tried to break Tehran. Instead, it exposed its own miscalculation. Now, the definition for the word miscalculation means to calculate an amount, distance, or measurement wrongly. But its synonyms go on to say misjudged, make a mistake about, calculate wrongly, estimate wrongly, overestimate, underestimate, overvalue, undervalue, go wrong, make an error, blunder, be wide of the mark, slip up, make a boo-boo, make a howler, and boob. Right. In other words, they underestimated their opponent, and they also underestimated what the scriptures have said about the Carmanians. Remember that the Lord is the one that's in charge of these wars. The Bible prophesied that with great power shall they come. That is speaking about the Iranians. Now the article continues to say, for almost 2 weeks now, the U.S. and Israel have been waging war on Iran. What Washington initially presented as a military campaign that will swiftly alter the strategic balance and put Tehran in a vulnerable position has proven to be far more complex. Over the past months, the White House has maintained that Iran could be on the brink of total defeat by the end of the first, or at most the second day of a conflict. Apparently, the American side expected a rapid dismantling of Iran's capabilities and a serious destabilization of its government. However, recent developments tell a different story. Right, Iran was underestimated, and now they find themselves winning the war. Now, here under how Iran is holding up, it goes on to say, despite immense pressure, Iran did not show signs of systemic collapse and managed to maintain the operation of key state institutions, military infrastructure, and governance mechanisms. Moreover, the current situation indicates that Washington's initial calculations were overly optimistic and failed to account for several fundamental factors that underpin Iran's resilience. This resilience is particularly remarkable considering that on the first day of the war, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was assassinated. Now, resilience means the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. Now, some analysts say that despite 47 years of sanctions, Iran managed to develop several advanced technologies through domestic research and self-reliance. And you cannot beat a people like that. Plus, Iran has been preparing for decades for the coming war. Plus, the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, is the one that's controlling the steps of these wars. The steps of men. He's controlling these wars because the Lord himself is a man of war, according to Exodus 15:3. And have you ever noticed that when heavy sanctions are placed upon a nation, that nation becomes stronger, as also in the case of Russia? You see? as also in the case of Russia. And despite all those sanctions that were placed on Iran, they still managed to recover from those difficulties and become even stronger. So those sanctions don't make people weaker, they make those nations even stronger, as in the case of Iran and Russia. So everything that the West has done has backfired. With that being said, let's go over to that scripture of 2nd Esdras 15 and 30, because now you are seeing the Carmanian wild boars coming with great power, with that great military power. Second Esdras 15 and 30. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth at the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Carmanians represent the Iranian wild boars of Iran. The Iranians of today are the Persians, and it is prophesied that they shall come with great power, and they are showing great power when it comes to their missiles and drones. Iran has been underestimated, and they are now winning the war against the so-called Israeli state and the West. Iran has been preparing for many years, and now they have a tremendous weapons cache at their disposal. And they make their weapons cheaper as well. Iran has very sophisticated and accurate theater ballistic missiles and tactical ballistic missiles, those TBMs. They also possess cruise missiles, unmanned systems, and drones. And like I said, they make them at a cheaper price, so they are able to get more. Let me also say this: Iran's cheap and plentiful weaponry has put the US military in a bind and under heavy strain. Remember that Iran has been preparing for decades for this very point in time, for the coming war. They have studied every scenario. And the scripture of 2nd Esdras 15 and 30 has said that the Carmanians shall rage in wrath, and with great power shall they come. And you are witnessing that great power by means of their vast weaponry. The tensions of this current American-Israeli versus Iranian war are extremely high. But as soon as they pass that CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16, that war cometh quickly. That third world war cometh quickly. But what you are seeing now with the Carmanians, they are fulfilling prophecy. They are coming with great power. They are showing their great power. And that's only the beginning. Because they shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The modern day Assyrian is Edom. And that land of the Assyrians, that speaks of America. As soon as they implement that CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16, that third world war cometh quickly. Now, when it comes to Iran, they claim that they do not have arrows of mass destruction. But they do possess the know-how on how to make them. This also goes into that prophecy of, let the weak say, I am strong. And now that Khamenei was assassinated because he was against having nuclear weapons, now that could very well change under a new leader. Joel 3 and 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Now when it comes to Iran, They claim that they do not have an arrow of mass destruction, but they do possess the know-how on how to make them. But I believe that they might have one stored away somewhere. That could be also a possibility. I'm not ruling that out. Because what are they going to do? Make them at the end? At that last minute? Or their allies could also provide them with those weapons of mass destruction. Or when it comes to these smaller nations, they have leveled out the playing field when it comes to nuclear capability. Let the weak say, I am strong, pertains to those weaker and smaller nations that did not have nuclear capability at one point, but now they do have nuclear capability. Look at North Korea. But those weaker and smaller nations are now confident in saying, I am strong, due to the fact that they now possess nuclear capability. And not only do they possess nuclear capability, but they are also backed up by other greater superpowered nations, like China and Russia. What you are witnessing now with the Carmanians, aka the Iranians, aka the Persians, is prophecy being fulfilled. And with great power shall they come. This war that's to come shall be with the fuel of fire. That's also a scripture. But in that coming third world war, those arrows of mass destruction shall destroy Babylon the Great along with that land that the small has now occupied. Babylon the Great shall never rebuild, but the land that the small has now occupied shall certainly rebuild. Now, if Iran was to get attacked or invaded by the West, that will automatically draw out the Russians to war. Right, in that third world war to come, Russia will provide an unprecedented level of military aid and technical support to Iran. And they already are, because it was said by officials, according to this report, that Russia provided Iran with intelligence to target US forces. So any attack on Iran will definitely draw out the Russians. So we are no longer living in the time of peace, but of war. But it shall be the small hatters that shall draw out their American counterparts to that final destructive Third World War of utter destruction. Now, when it comes to this current United States and Iranian war, the US president called Vladimir Putin because he finds himself in a bind, in trouble. Iran was underestimated when it came to this war. Remember that they have been preparing for such a long time. Now, when it comes to that final destructive war to come, it shall come full scale when the CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16 gets implemented upon society, upon the world. Do not take it. Those who take it will come down with the grievous sore of cancer, according to Revelation 16 and 2. Do not take it. But with that being said, Ka'al Alau Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahak, Wadash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel. Blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Barakatah. Shalom.